Listening to The Difference. Another week has gone by, Jermaine. You are still here, man.
I'm still.
I'm saying, wait, did I not say that quite right?
Yeah, I'm still
Yeah,
here.
I'm still here. Well, it's a blessing. It's a
Yeah,
blessing.
that
All
part.
right. So, uh, we're gonna have I'm glad we're starting off by laughing
Yeah.
because we got some serious stuff to deal with today, and um, we're reckless driving has been an ongoing conversation, and Jermaine, I know we've talked about your family situation and what's happened, to your son
Yeah.
and some of the reckless driving issues as well. And so I wanted to invite. I just met Jeanne Lupo this Monday, and she is the president of Enough is Enough, a legacy for Aaron. I think
That's
that's the
correct.
full name. And so I wanted to welcome her to the show to talk about. There you go. There you go.
Thank you.
So we wanted to have Jean in to talk about reckless driving and the impact on her own family, as well as and trying to do some of the outreach to help the community know that there are some resources and a way to come together to address these issues. So Jean, thanks so much for coming to the show.
Thank you for having me, Will. I give you an A because this is the first radio show that I've done and the first time that any type of radio media has invited
Oh wow.
us to talk about our group.
Well,
So it's an honor and a privilege.
we are very happy to have you into the studio,
you.
and Jermaine's he's pretty easy to work with.
Oh yeah, pretty easy.
Most days, most days. I only have to deal with him on Fridays,
Only
and
Fridays.
so it makes it very simple to be able week to week. It makes it very simple.
We're all happy on Fridays. So.
Exactly.
Right.
Absolutely. So, would you just tell us a little bit about yourself? And also, so first of all, are you from Milwaukee?
I am. I used to live in Milwaukee. I currently live in Waterford, but I lived in Milwaukee in my early 20s. I went to school at UWM,
Okay.
and I lived in the Milwaukee area for many years. So,
Wow. So,
um,
Jermaine, just in case you don't know Waterford, man, that's Racine County.
Well,
Water-
yeah, I kind of figured that.
So, and you've been involved in in these issues of reckless driving, and let's talk a little bit about how you got involved in all this.
Sure. I got involved because of a tragic incident, and this was my friend's daughter-in-law. So I have a group of friends. We worked together for a long time at Blue Cross Blue Shield when I lived in Milwaukee.
Mhm.
But her daughter-in-law, and it's approaching 2 years on Sunday, was tragically killed by a reckless driver. The car was stolen. He was driving 117 miles an
Wow.
hour. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. Erin Mogensen is her name, the deceased, and she was lost to this tragedy. She was 8 weeks pregnant. It was her fourth anniversary.
Oh,
She was just starting her life with her husband Alex, and her future stolen from her
wow.
because of someone who decided that getting away was more important than safety. And so our friends came together after this tragedy and decided that we were going to do something about this problem because of the problem of reckless driving in the city and the suburbs. It's all over, but it's so horrendous, and mostly because no other family should have to endure what they have.
Mhm.
That's our whole
Wow.
goal.
Jermaine, how did they figure out how fast the reckless driver was going when with? Well,
Yeah,
just so
You can.
people remember, tell your
I'd like to
your
hear
story.
your
Yeah.
story.
yeah. My son and his brother was on their way to um to go to the store, and this guy was coming down Burline. He had to be doing about 70, 75 miles an hour down Burline. And as they was facing west, they was getting ready to turn to go east. And as they made the U-turn to go east, that's when the car came,
Hmm.
smacked them, and hit him.
Oh wow.
And my son had a punctured lung. His his brother had a broken pelvic.
Oh wow.
Um, and it was one of the scariest phone calls to
Mm-mm.
get. Um,
And they were I mean, young.
yeah. My son at that time was 22. Yeah, it was about 2 years ago. So 22, and his brother at the time was 25, 26. So
Okay.
yeah,
I'm so sorry. But
I'm so
are they
sorry for
okay
your
now?
loss. Yeah, they are okay, but
Mm-hmm.
as far as your loss, I'm sorry
Mm,
for your loss.
thank
And
you.
just the struggle of having to, you know, deal with losing a loved one is heartbreaking.
Right.
It's
And it
heartbreaking.
lingers, and there's
Yeah,
a ripple. It's hard to imagine how many people get touched by
yeah,
one incident.
Yeah. So,
It's
Jermaine,
horrible.
how long did it take? These were young
yeah,
men.
yeah,
How long did it take them to heal from, a punctured lung? So
yeah.
I assume that he then broke some ribs in that
Yeah,
process.
yeah. He had a it was a cracked rib.
Okay.
Well, no,
Mhm.
a fractured rib.
Yeah.
And so he played sports in college, so he had to kind of sit out the first couple months.
Mm,
So he missed the football season and the first part of the basketball season.
Hmm.
But again, for my situation, I'm grateful that he made it out of. But my heart goes out to you, just
Yeah.
thank
hearing
you.
your story,
Yeah.
and just letting you know that you have my condolences.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
It's one of the reasons I wanted to have that. We've been having this conversation increasingly, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's not getting any better.
right.
Mhm.
But I just met a woman a week ago Monday, a week ago Tuesday, that was hit so hard by a drunk driver. She was hit head on.
Mm,
Mother of five. So they had young kids. She and her husband, young kids. She was hit head on, was hit so hard, she lost hearing in both ears. For 5 months, she was completely deaf, had to learn sign language.
Mm,
Um, she had multiple ligaments. It's a that were torn from the bone because of the impact
mm,
wow.
of that hit, and the person who did it had injured people before with these drunk driving offenses, and after that hit somebody, nearly killing them as well. And so it just seems like this is happening so much that we've then had to have this conversation much more frequently here. And of course it's hurting. This happens too often on the north side.
yeah.
So it's really hurting our folks in the process. So so then, how did you get involved with the organization then?
So Aaron's memorial service was November 19th. I remember the date because that also happened to coincide with the World Day of Remembrance, which I'll talk about,
Hmm.
which is coming up. But at that service, we just talked and we said we need to do something about this. And um, I never excuse a challenge like that. Although I mean, I took it very seriously that if we were going to do something, we're going to do something.
Hmm.
And so, after talking with my husband and with our friends, I decided that I was going to start a group, a movement, um, do something. I didn't know what that was.
Hmm.
I don't work in this realm. My background is like IT and teaching. So
Okay.
um so I didn't really know what I was doing, but we decided that we're going to do something. The first thing I did was I reached out to some of the leadership in Milwaukee. I reached out to Bob Donovan and he got an A
Yeah.
because he responded to me almost immediately.
And Bob Donovan is a state representative. He was an
Correct.
alderman here in Milwaukee
Yes.
for years. He's a state representative now, representing I want to say Greendale, Greenfield,
Yes.
that southwestern part of Milwaukee County
Right.
is the area that he represents in the state legislature.
Right. But to me, Bob is a statesman. He definitely is someone who represents people, and he's a common sense, and he's not in politics for the politics.
Hmm.
he's in politics because he wants better things for people,
Yes.
and he thinks we all want the same thing. We want safety. He always talks about you want a safe home, and you want your garbage to be picked up,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to just be able to live decently in your community. So those are his beliefs, and he sat down and met with me, and it just so happened at the time that he was trying to pass a bill um, through the House and the Senate that involved increasing the felony level for
Mm-hmm.
fleeing an officer.
Right.
And so we latched onto fleeing an officer mostly because it's easier to identify. But he was trying to get that bill passed, and we gathered round, and we asked people to write letters, and we were putting pressure on the governor because the governor didn't want to pass that bill.
Mm-hmm.
And so we helped get that passed. And so that was a great victory, and we were honored. We were able to go to Madison while they signed it, and essentially what that bill did was, so every felony has a classification and
Right.
associated penalties that go with it. And so at the time, I want to say that fleeing an officer, and this is just fleeing, causing bodily harm or property damage, no, bodily harm or death. Um, and so at the time, I think it was an I felony, fairly low level,
Uh-huh.
and they increased it to an H. And the very unique thing about it is that there's mandatory minimum sentencing, prison time required with that
So in the
penalty.
case of Aaron,
Mhm.
in the person who actually caused this her death.
Crash, yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that person did they were they able to get to that person? Were they able to take that person off the streets? What happened?
He initially ran away, and so this is another huge problem where we don't target or follow hit and run incidents so much. Although a number of our members have been victims of hit and run, but it's unfathomable to me that someone would hit another
Yeah.
person and run away or leave. But that's what he did. So he was worried about something in the car. He ran back to his car. He was somehow able to run away, which is, he
Wow.
T-boned Erin at, I think when he hit her, it was probably 70 some miles an hour. But he grabbed his things, he ran away to a friend's house, and the police were able to do some great detective work very quickly and tracked him down at an apartment where he was hiding.
Wow.
He tried to run away again. He tried to jump out the window, and he was burning some of the evidence in the backyard of this home.
Wow.
Yes, he had stolen the car from someone else. He had taken the plates off the car. That's another big problem where people are driving around with stolen cars, no plates, no
Yeah.
registration. But the police did apprehend him. I'm not sure how long after. I believe it was within 24 hours. And so he was a repeat felon out on multiple probations. Retail theft was his MO, but he was out on probation and should have been watched and monitored. And I got his, for our group and for the family, I requested his Department of Corrections information, and that's a public thing that you can do. I was actually surprised, and they redacted a lot of the information that might be harmful if someone knew, like mental health or things like that. But those records are requestable, and I could see that this person was escalating. And so I wondered, and we actually did sit down and meet with the Department of Corrections to just ask, why was this person not, you know, guided better? I feel like he was failed by the system too. I'm not offering an excuse for him in any way, but I feel like the system kind of failed him as well.
Wow. So, Jermaine, in the case of your son, did they find the person who they? So the person. So this case was another reckless driving,
Hit and run.
Okay, again, hit and run, but they never found that person.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
I mean, to be honest, I think they stopped looking.
Okay.
Because if it's not first priority on their list,
Mm-hmm.
they really don't care.
Well, and I think that's part of the issue again is this sort of repeat. These repeat offenders who continue to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If as this case is proving, people who end up hit and run, stolen car, no plates, no way to trace it back. And it makes it very difficult for the police to find you afterwards.
Yeah.
Unless, and I got to say, in my case, I was hit by a hit and run. We spun, First Street,
Yeah.
um, a full city block.
Whoa.
Okay, so on
Wow.
First Street, there are
Whoa.
two lanes coming
Yeah.
north, two lanes coming
Yeah.
south. I was in the leftmost lane going south. This woman, not here legally, um, not here legally, and this goes back to 2007. So, I mean, this has been going on for a long time. Did She had been drinking for I don't know how long with friends at a bar. She hit a friend of mine and I, and he was in the passenger seat, and by the grace of God, she hit the back end of my car, and it was a
Wow.
Saab. And
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
can take a hit, right?
Yeah.
This car was totaled. She's like just about sheared off the back of the car.
She had to be
Wow.
going
Yeah,
fast.
and so she blew through a stop sign, hit us straight on, but she was drunk enough that she just floored it. So drunk that and she hit us so hard the plate fell off the car, and that's how they found her. Well, and again, the situation of not finding,
Hmm.
they went to the home where the car was registered, but because she was not here legally, she did not go home. And so, like you say, they at some point they stopped looking for her, and who knows what happened to her after that. But yeah, she uh, you know, for all I know, got away with it at that point. But they were able to come back and tell me what her name was, etc.
Who
You
cared
know,
about that?
exactly,
Right.
right,
Right.
right. So it was one of those. This again. Just even within three of us here in the studio, all three of us have had these hit and
Yeah.
run
Right.
situations. You know.
Right. So that I mean, it's a bigger issue than I wish the leadership would take it more seriously.
Hmm.
And what I've been asking for over a year is, can't there be some comprehensive plan? You and I talked about the street takeover
Yeah.
issue over the summer that seemed to have, been there and went away
Yeah.
mysteriously.
So for those who
But
don't know what a street takeover
mhm,
is, really this it's really illegal racing, right? I
Yeah.
mean, they're actually out and they take over whole intersections.
mhm,
Um, on one weekend, they had 15 street takeovers in Milwaukee alone,
right,
and where people, you think about the fact that an ambulance can't get through, the police, couldn't be everywhere. So you got 15 of these breaking off on that same weekend. It's a and I know in one of these situations, the one on the downtown area, it had some impact on the businesses there as well.
sure.
And people were not able to get through some of those major thoroughfares down there.
Right. And how scary would it be if you got caught in one of these, not intending to be there? But I I was asking for a comprehensive plan to tackle this. It's been going on long enough. It's really not getting better.
Yeah,
We want to feel we've been doing this for going on 2 years now. The difficulty for us is it's a feel, right? There's no real measurement that we see except for deaths. Which,
mhm,
why do we want to wait until somebody dies to
right.
count that? We still have a problem.
Yeah,
Um, so what how can it be measured to have impact? And what is truly the plan, not just the talk about the
yeah,
plan?
yeah. I see. He's starting to touch buttons over here. So Jermaine is, I think, inching us toward a break. So we'll continue this conversation right after. Bill Martin, and you are listening to The Difference. And especially if you have the chance, you can listen to the show or you can actually watch the show. So if you're not already registered or subscribing, if you are a Facebook user, if you are a YouTube user, you can subscribe to all the shows on WNOV, and you can actually be alerted that they're coming on and see them live streamed. And if you miss it, you can actually go back and see the archived shows as well. Today, we're talking about reckless driving. We've got with us Jeanne Lupo, who is the president of Enough is Enough, a legacy for Aaron.
Correct.
And we were just talking about before the break the fact that three of us were in the studio who'd all been impacted by hit and run. And then we have Megan, who has also been. So now it's 4 out of 4.
Yeah.
I think Byron's the only one who's not been impacted so far in this conversation. So
we hope that never happens.
absolutely. So Megan, we just wanted to have you get a chance to tell your story too, that you've actually personally been through it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So I.
There
All
we
right.
go.
So yeah. So I was driving down a street by in like Low Creek area, near the lakefront, and I it was late at night, you know, late winter, and I was driving down the street. It was very small, and um it was snowing out. The roads were pretty, icy, and uh, I go down this hill and I see this car, and I I saw the lights on, but it didn't look like it was moving. So I was trying to brake and stop. And then I turned around, so I was trying to go around her, and I did hit her in the side, back rear. Then I pulled over and got out and ran straight to her and was like, "Hey, are you okay?" Making sure, I felt so bad. Like, it's like, "Oh, this is all my fault." Like,
Yeah.
because I did hit her. And so I was checking on, someone came out from the neighborhood, which I was very grateful. Someone came, called 911 right away. I was like, perfect, great. Checked on the lady. She was out. She was in passenger seat. She was like mumbling her words. Seemed like she was on, I think she had some drugs in the car, as well as probably in her system. So she was in the passenger seat, and I walked. So she wasn't, contact. She wasn't talking to me at all. Walked back to my car where I pulled over. The guy who came out and called 911, we were talking. I was, freaking out. It was not too long ago, but I was like 2 years ago. So still younger. I'm 26 right now. And so at that time I was like 22. So I'm like, oh, my parents are gonna be mad, and like, just, and look over, and she gets out of her passenger seat and goes in the driver's seat and drives away. And so I'm like,
wow.
pull my phone out, take a photo of her license plate, and so I'm still shaking, like. So the cops did eventually come. This was very I had, someone watching over me, and trying, helping the situation, because they did eventually. So I got home, my parents picked me up. I got home the next day. They told me they found her because I sent them the license plate picture, and so I had a picture of her car and the license plate number. So they found her. She was in custody. I went to go check on her. I did a lineup. It was during COVID at this time, so it was a like a folder lineup. So they had just folders out, and I just, made sure that she was okay. Like, that was her. And then 2 years later, then I went into a court hearing and I was a witness for her case.
Oh wow.
They found her guilty, and so I was very grateful that I got yes, like I hit her and it was my fault, but I was able to it was you know grace of God, I guess, with being able to so someone became guilty or was caught, I guess.
Yeah.
um and so I guess this was her fifth offense, which
Whoa. Okay.
sorry, forgot
Yeah.
to mention that. This was her fifth offense, and so that's why, like, 2 years later, then that's why I became a witness. And
Had she been driving the car? Was that the deal? Like, how did the car come to be?
so I'm not positive. I'm pretty sure she was driving. I did know she was sitting in the car at the time, just parked. So but when I did, from what I can remember, she was in the middle of the street.
Oh wow.
She wasn't like on the grass. And I definitely could tell because there was snow and you could see the tracks when she
Yeah.
did leave, like she was on the street.
So Jermaine and I talked about this before, and Jermaine, they just had this on the news again. This idea of having regulators in the car that would limit the speed.
Mhm.
And also, I have a friend who works for a company. They actually got a patent on this technology. They created a breathalyzer that you have to breathe into before you can start the car, right? And I know in a number of these circumstances, people have gotten, you're either drunk driving, and that happens so often, or you're on drugs, and the ability to identify it. But apparently we had this conversation before when we talked about reckless driving and whether or not you could actually regulate the speed of the car.
Right.
And so for some of these people in some of these situations where they have been already adjudicated as recklessly driving, that there is technology they want to be able to require that the driver purchase and install in the car to regulate the speed so that they can't go over, essentially they can't go over the speed limit. Now again, the chances of getting somebody, if you're stealing somebody's car,
Right.
you're not putting the technology
very
in a stolen
often
car,
they're not
right?
driving
So
their own car.
right. So I think
Mhm.
that's where this continues to break down is
Mhm.
what do you do about people who are already breaking the law, right? If you're stealing the car and recklessly driving,
Right.
it's a little hard to get at.
As we've gotten further into this, there's the group called Vision Zero, or the Vision Zero
Right.
program.
I think
in
we actually had
Milwaukee,
somebody from Vision Zero come in and talk to us.
and so they're approaching everything from the standpoint of the built environment needs to be safe enough so everybody else can be safe, and we appreciate all of these efforts. And the neat thing about Vision Zero is they have this layered approach.
So let's
not
just make
one
sure that
thing.
people know. I think we did
Mhm.
have a show where we brought the people in from Vision Zero. But Vision Zero is basically the city of Milwaukee's initiative to try to create ways to reduce the potential of someone even driving recklessly. So things like when you see the bump outs, so that we've had a history of people going around traffic into the shoulder, trying to drive around the cars to zip around and cut through traffic. This reduces a person's ability to be able to cut around because of those bump outs. It's also, you can't take the corners the same kinds of way that you might have. They may be putting the speed bumps in various places to slow down the traffic. In some other places, they narrow the number of lanes. So there's a variety of different ways that Vision Zero is using, as you say, the built environment, the physical way that the roads are set up in order to try to reduce the chances of somebody really as you talked about, 117 miles an
Right.
hour in
Well, and
cases.
in my opinion, the Vision Zero approach isn't going to stop that person.
Right.
You've seen it. I mean, you see the sticks that are, you know,
They've grown up. In other
so
words, they've run over those
right.
too.
They're trying to impact. I feel like there's a couple of different classifications of reckless drivers,
Hmm.
and so where I believe Vision Zero can and will have an impact is the person, the inattentive driver, or the speeder who's going 5 miles over or maybe 10 miles over. Still very, critical and can cause a lot of problems. What we're trying to do is address the other category where
Hmm.
people are intentionally driving so fast that it's unsafe for anybody
Right.
to be around, versus kind of, the traffic calming and all those other things.
Yeah.
A lot of people feel that some of those measures are punitive to people who aren't
Are law abiding. Yeah.
are law abiding. It's I don't like going down Wisconsin Avenue anymore. It takes
Hmm.
too long. I mean,
Yeah.
there's one row of traffic. So
Right.
it's unfortunate that it's come to that, that drastic of measures need to be taken in order for the community
And it was built
to,
as a grand
right.
boulevard, and
Yes.
now it's anything but that.
Yeah, it's not very attractive.
Right. Right.
So, but I believe that their approach will impact, the inattentive driver.
Mhm.
We all should think harder. Our cars go really fast, very easily without us even knowing it.
And they're weapons if
They
in
are
the wrong
weapons. Yeah,
hands.
that's true. We did actually. We were able to sit down with a judge, part of our group, which I didn't get into yet, but
Yeah.
we've invited judges to talk with us so we can better understand how they view cases, how they sentence cases. We we have a court watch program that we haven't talked about yet, but much of that program is targeted at recognizing that judges have a lot of latitude,
Right.
and judges are also the last place that somebody who's charged with a crime, they have a big decision to make. But this particular judge doesn't view. We feel that there's not a big difference between somebody driving a 4-ton vehicle at 100 miles an hour down the street. The probability of something happening, someone being killed or hurt, we equate that to somebody shooting a gun in the
Yeah.
air or into a home.
Hmm.
And he considered it very different, that the probability of something happening with the vehicle versus somebody shooting a gun. And we'd really like, armed robbery in courts, now that we've been sitting in court, there's a stigma around that that if you point a gun at somebody and you take something away from them, there's this stigma that that's a huge crime and you deserve to be in prison for that.
Yeah.
We want that same stigma. If you decide to drive a car that fast, you're putting yourself in danger. You're putting the police in danger.
Yeah.
You're putting anybody could step out
Right.
and be dead in
Well,
an instant.
we've talked about
So,
children.
yes.
There are occasions where even the best parents, if a child wanders or just runs a little faster, you can end
Right.
up with a child in the crosswalk before
Right.
you know it.
Right.
And having somebody driving that fast, even if they wanted to stop, they can't.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about the group. So Enough
Mhm.
is Enough, a legacy for Aaron, and we talked a little bit about who Aaron was, and I think particularly just the heartbreaking nature of that situation where she was expecting,
Yes.
and so to lose both, a wife, a daughter, as well as a child, a grandchild in
Mhm.
that process.
Mhm.
The amount of damage and hurt that this reckless driving adds up to.
Yes. Yes.
So you created this organization, you formed it. So talk a little bit about what is Enough is Enough,
Mhm.
and what does it do?
So we incorporated in April of 2024. That was also guidance from Bob Donovan, but in part of our incorporation, we defined 3 pillars of areas that we focus on. One is the legislature, so the passing of the bill, and there's been a couple more bills coming down. In fact, one was just one has just gotten to the governor's desk. We hope it will be signed, the towing bill.
Okay.
So we have a legislative pillar, we have a judicial pillar, which is looking at the courts and the court system. And then we have outreach and education, which is educating the public about what we do, inviting people, educating on the perils of reckless driving. And so our I would say our most successful pillar so far is the judicial and court watch. We have a court watch program.
So judicial. Okay. So first of all, on the legislative is you're working with the legislature. You're working with elected officials. Make sure they're aware of this problem, as well as getting to weigh in on any solutions that they might be thinking about.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, definitely. And asking for solutions. We've been asking for many. And so the towing bill that was just passed that took forever is actually it's a tweak of a bill that was passed in 2003, so that municipalities had the ability to tow a car if the person was stopped for reckless driving. There were a lot of loopholes. They needed to be able to prove that it was that person's car, and were there outstanding citations. There are a lot of struggles and difficulties with the original bill. So this new one closes those loops and
Okay.
gives the municipality the option to, if you're stopped on the first time and you were reckless driving, the car will be towed.
Okay.
So that's
Okay.
an improvement.
So that's an example
Mhm.
of what you do on the legislative piece, and
Correct.
this is really helping. And I presume you're helping folks that have been impacted by this also know what the legislature is doing.
Yes, our we have a member base, I'll call it, but we have over 250 people that follow us via email communication. We have a Facebook page and a Facebook group,
Okay.
and so we've asked for action, letters to the governor, letters to their legislator, to support these different things.
Okay.
And so, yeah, we ask members to help in that regard.
Okay.
That's an easy thing to do.
Okay, so that's the first pillar,
Mm-hmm.
legislative. You're educating the legislature. You're advocating for folks. You're also educating people in the community. The second one then is the judicial, where you're.
Judicial.
So talk a little bit about what does that mean?
We call it our judicial pillar, but what the outcome of that was our court watch program is what we'll call it. And so we felt, I said before, we feel that the judiciary, as a part of the whole criminal justice system, plays an important role. We had a theory going in that the judges were being too lenient in their rulings, and this is why you end up with a person like Aaron's killer, who had 3 past convictions and was, I say, only serving probation. I don't know exactly what goes on in probation. We have yet to explore that, but my impression would be that probation is not the same as sitting in prison, in a jail. You might have rules, you might have things you need to do. Some people say that they can be very rigorous, but you are out in the community and you are able to live your life and not reflect perhaps on what you did, things like that. So
this is about really the revolving door of these repeat offenders.
Yes.
People who've done this before.
Yes.
The judge is not taking this as seriously as the people who've been impacted.
Right.
And they're letting people go.
Right.
Without, in some cases, without serving time, or not without serving their full sentence. They're getting out. They're coming back and doing this again.
Correct. Right. The message, I feel the message to them is what they did was okay. And that, kind of go out and try it again, try to get it. I don't know. Right next time is the wrong way to put it. But so that was our theory. And we started, we visit cases in court. We choose cases that involve fleeing an officer, mostly because they're easier to identify out of CCAP. But we have very dedicated people. I have one person who scours CCAP for our cases. And we select cases to go and visit in the criminal courts. We go at the plea and sentencing time or for sentencing, and we observe. That was a big process too, to help the courts understand why we were coming. Courts are open to the public mostly. There are critical cases that have to be closed to the public, but they're mostly open. And in general, the judges were receptive after they knew what and understood what we were trying to do.
Okay. Well, we continue this right after
Mhm.
because I want to make sure that we can get to how people can get involved with you,
Definitely.
and we'll talk about that right after this break.
Sounds good.
WNOV family, this is Will Martin, and you're listening to The Difference. And I have just been wait. This is like a
Right.
live thing, man. This is like I have just been handed something. So WNOV is going to have a live remote on November 12th, and this is going to be really incredible. So if you are listening, make sure that you tune in on the November 12th from 7 a.m. to noon. We're going to have this live broadcast that's been coming from Thrive on King. Now, Thrive on King is $120 million development. Okay. Thrive on King is the old Schusters. Do you remember? Okay. So, hey, look, I don't remember myself, right? But apparently, on Martin Luther King, when Martin Luther King was the shopping
Oh yeah.
drive, right? That Schuster's was the local department store. I think it was at one point also part of Gimbel's, right? So all of that happened on Martin Luther King. Well, that building was left really vacant and dilapidated for a long time. Once the department store shut down, it really wasn't used much after that. It's a multi-story building. They actually went through, and Kevin Newell, one of I think one of the most active developers now in our community. He developed the Thrive on King location, and that now is the home of Greater Milwaukee Foundation. The Medical College of Wisconsin is doing outreach and public health education there now, and they built I think over 100 um, um, affordable housing apartments as all
Mm,
part of this
yeah.
redevelopment of what was once a department store. Okay,
Wow.
so the great part of this is now that is open, and WNOV is going to be there on location. This is at 2153 North Dr. King, North Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. So again, it's just south of North and King, and so there's a lot that's going to be going on that day. So there's crime and community wellness, and Michelle Bryant is going to be hosting that from 7 to 9, and she's got some incredible guests that will be there. So the Office of Community
Mhm.
Wellness and Safety, Adam Procell, Milwaukee Police Chief Jeffrey Norman, the Milwaukee County Sheriff Danita Ball. She's got a series of guests that are going to be there that morning. Then spiritual and financial wellness with Keith Parrish. And so he's going to be on from 9 to 11. And he's got Pastor Ashford from Infinite Church, Pastor Jeremy Henry from Holy Redeemer Institutional Church of God in Christ. He's also got Evolve Church that day. Kenneth Locke will be there. And then Grief and Healing.
Mm.
Dr. Kwaku's going to do a segment on that from 11 to 12, and he's going to round out that day. So it's Tiffany Terry and other guests that he will have. So again, if you are a regular listener, you'll hear it already anyway.
Yeah.
But if you aren't a regular listener, make sure you tune in November 12th, 7 a.m. to noon, so that you can hear the live broadcast from Thrive on King. It's great for the community. It'll be great for the station. And I am happy to say we got this nice little handy dandy piece here. So,
Excellent.
all right, everybody, listen. So let's get back to the conversation about
Mhm.
enough is enough, reckless driving. There were three pillars. We were talking about the first two, judicial and legislative.
Right.
What is the third
The
pillar?
third is outreach and education. And so this is the pillar where we're trying to teach the community about what we're doing.
Mhm.
We've used most of our time to visit. We've visited National Night Out events,
Okay.
crime and safety meetings. In
Mhm.
fact, one of our crime and safety meetings were in that Thrive on
Oh, it's
King
right in the King.
building, and it's
Okay.
beautiful.
All right.
And so and we're just we have seeds. What we really want to be able to do with this pillar is to get out in front of the problem, um, get with youth and start teaching about that fleeing an officer is a felony. Do you
Mhm.
understand a felony? It stays with you for your lifetime. So many of the people we see in court are very young.
Okay.
And so trying to um, get in front of the problem, and
So this is kind of more of a preventative
this will
piece.
be preventive, which is, it's really, really in our infancy, just thoughts and ideas right now.
Mhm.
But that will be the strength of that pillar, will
Okay.
be to be in the community.
Well,
Um,
so how can people, so we've been talking about this today. Obviously, again, for folks who've been listening to the whole show, we've had now 4 people in the studio, all 4 people impacted by, these kinds of accidents. Well, actually, I should take that back. I've talked to people who say
it's a
this is not an
crash.
accident, right? Because if people choose to drive recklessly,
People
that is something
choose,
that's
right?
much more intentional.
There is a book called There Are No Accidents, and in
Hmm.
it, I took a piece of it from the end of it, because it talks about the what happens to a person when they're hit, a pedestrian
Yeah,
hit by a car going 30, 50, 70 miles an
right,
hour. So it's devastating. And but reframing our thoughts around that, it's a crash, it was not an accident,
right.
because everything about it could have been avoided,
Hmm. So
is
how do
more.
people get involved?
People can get involved by, we have a website, ENE4 Erin, EIRN.org.
Yep.
On that website, it talks about us, it talks about our pillars, but there's a contact section where you can send an inquiry and join our group. It will talk about other ways that you can get involved.
And how much does it
Um,
cost to join your group?
It costs nothing.
Free.
It's a
We're always
free.
about that. Free
We're for
works.
free. We
Okay.
work for free. We do everything
Okay.
for free. But what we're really looking for is the community to be involved with us, because this is such a devastating problem. And the sad thing for us is, we've had a difficulty. We understand that the most disadvantaged neighborhoods are
Mhm.
the most impacted by all of this,
Mhm.
and we want people from those neighborhoods to be involved.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to court. Court watch involves going and listening to court cases. However, if you're able to, if you could go once, you could go once a month. You could, we have people that go weekly, sometimes
Yeah.
multiple times a week. There's that many cases, which is really sad.
Wow.
But we have a lot of back office type of work that can be done. You can independently, whether you're part of our group or not, talk to your leadership, talk to your alderperson, your representative, ask, what are you doing about this problem? I'm concerned about my safety in my
Yeah.
neighborhood. Force that issue. And a really important thing is to vote. Um, know who you're voting for, and
Mhm.
decide if your leader is doing what you want, and vote in that way.
Great. No, thank you so much
Mm.
for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Jeanne Lupo, president of Enough is Enough. And again, if you've been watching the show streaming, we
Yes.
actually have the website and the
Excellent.
email up. So it's another reason to make sure
And we're happy to
check it
come
out.
and share at anybody's group or church or anything.
Okay. Hey,
Thank
so
you so
Jermaine's telling me we got to go. We got to
We
go.
gotta go.
It's already next week's show. So
Right.